Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us here on the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Sarah Sanchez.
And I'm Brent Harden. The shelter in place has been lifted at Wesleyan University after a shots fired incident near the campus.
Police have arrested a suspect, and Fox 61's Emma Wolfhorst is in Middletown at Wesleyan University with what we know so far. Emma.
Sarah, Brent, we don't know too much yet. I'm here right now on Pearl Street, this block between Court and College Street, which, as you can see right now, is quite a quiet section of Middletown. We're just 2 blocks from main campus here near Wesleyan. This is normally a really safe area, I'm told by the neighbors. Some who have lived here as much as 10 years tell me that nothing like this has happened since they've lived here. This is normally a very calm, quiet area, and it is right now, but at 2:30 this afternoon, that all changed. You can see what we saw when we drove up to the scene: ambulance, cop cars. That's because around 2:30 this afternoon, Middletown police showed up here for a report of a shooting. The caller said they saw a blue SUV fleeing west on Court Street after hearing multiple gunshots. Some neighbors told me it sounded like as many as 6 gunshots. Officers showed up very quickly and observed a man running south on Broad Street. They pursued him through backyards and were able to detain him without incident. The scene has now been secured, and luckily there were no injuries reported. It's believed that the parties involved in this shooting knew one another, and this was not just a random act of violence. There is no longer a specific public safety concern here. As you said, since this was so close to Wesleyan campus, students were issued a shelter-in-place alert via text earlier today, saying that this was an active shooter incident. It was not an active shooter incident. It was just a report of shots fired and was shut down very quickly. Neighbors in the area tonight tell me that they're happy law enforcement responded so quickly to this incident and were able to detain that suspect, who is in custody tonight. And students I spoke to say they didn't know much other information, but they're happy that this turned out to be no injuries reported and that there is no longer a public safety threat to the community here. Live in Middletown, Emma Wolfhorst, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Emma, thank you. Well, new body cam video tonight shedding light on a deadly officer-involved shooting in Colchester. Police just releasing this video showing what happened when they went to a home on Norwich Avenue after a dispute between the landlord, 33-year-old Jared Billard, and his second-floor tenant last Thursday. The tenant told police Billard was acting erratically and displayed knives. Police found Billard in his basement apartment and started talking to him. Moments later, police heard Billard rack the slide of a pump-action shotgun, and then he came out of the apartment and pointed the shotgun toward Officer Karulis Wasef, who shot and killed Billard. The investigation into the deadly shooting continues.
At Yale tonight, a group of Jewish faculty members is asking the university president to address the pro-Palestine protests on campus.
And today marks 6 days since students began camping out across campus, and that's where we find Fox 61's Julia LeBlanc with what the faculty is asking for. Julia.
Anti-Semitism at Yale can no longer be tolerated.
Students have reported to me, they've reported to my colleagues, my non-Jewish colleagues, that they're afraid to come to class.
2 Yale faculty members joining dozens of other Jewish staff to say enough is enough as pro-Palestinian protests continue on and near campus.
Free, free, free Palestine!
Where moments like this prompted the faculty to take pen to paper, calling on the president of the university to take action.
Where we're all here together as part of a community to teach and to learn from each other. And we can't do either of those things if one group is so abusive of others.
Evan Morris with the Yale School of Medicine says these problems have persisted for a while, but became worse at the start of the Israel-Hamas war. And when he learned a Jewish student was allegedly assaulted during Saturday's protests, the group asked the president to stop the demonstrations, call out acts of hate, and enforce school policies.
If the safety of the community cannot be guaranteed, then demonstrations need to be put on hold.
In a statement to the community on Monday, President Peter Salovey said, quote, "We will not tolerate such behavior nor any open violation of Yale policies that interrupts academic and campus operations." Then, police made dozens of arrests, but the professors say that doesn't go far enough.
I consider it my professional home, and it really breaks my heart to see how embroiled in hatred and anti-Semitism the university has become.
As for the protesters, they tell us their demonstrations are focused on peace.
If members of the community are feeling unsafe, I think that it genuinely is something that obviously needs to be addressed, but also I would like to point out that this is a wide coalition of folks. We have a lot of Jewish folks here. Jews for Ceasefire, JVP has all been part of the organizing effort.
One moment of contrition, of playing nice in the sandbox, doesn't wipe out 6 or 7 months of intimidation.
Well, we reached out to the university for a new comment today in response to this letter, but we did not hear back. In the meantime, the professors want an answer from the president of the university by tomorrow. We are in New Haven at Yale. Julia LeBlanc, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
A recent Derby mayoral candidate caught storming the Capitol on January 6th will spend just 10 days in jail for his involvement in the Capitol riot. Gino Giovani was also sentenced to a year of supervised release and 50 hours of community service. He pleaded guilty to entering and staying on restricted grounds the day of the insurrection. Giovani seen on surveillance video getting past barriers outside the Capitol and joining in chants directed at police. He then forced his way inside. Prosecutors showed him on camera in the Capitol rotunda for about 20 minutes among the crowd of rioters demanding entry into closed-off areas where lawmakers were hiding out. Well, tonight, a Fox 61 follow-up to a story we brought you last night. Homeowners on Job's Pond in Portland are growing more desperate by the day. They're watching their investments get washed away by rising waters.
But tonight, federal, state, and local officials toured that devastation and offered their collective commitment to solving the problem. Fox 61's Matt Caron tells us who's stepping up to the plate.
It's been 24 hours since we last introduced you to Job's Pond, and you might remember this image. We got a little closer. It's a pavilion where now only the roof is above water, a visual representation of this worsening crisis that residents say needs to be declared a state of emergency.
It's heartbreaking, to see it like this.
Ellen Mantle and her 89-year young mother, Evelyn.
There's probably 40 sandbags on the water side.
Invited us inside their multi-generational family cottage on Job's Pond in Portland as they confront the very real possibility of relocation.
Finding some other place to stay. Hopefully, we can locate some places. My brother is already making space at his house in Cromwell for my mom in the event that, she has to move out.
Ellen then brought us next door.
My poor house here. I've spent the last 2 years working on this cottage.
The home she planned to renovate to live next to Mom, besieged by water.
As you can see right now, I've got my oil tank, my hot water heater, my mother's freezer, and my heat pump sitting upstairs.
Descending downstairs.
It's a little bit of a tight squeeze.
The damage got worse.
I've got a flotilla of sandbags right now. The water is up to the windows. You can see it outside. At this point, I'm holding my breath that my furnace doesn't float away. We've tried to encapsulate it in rubber.
Hours later came what they hope is a literal lifeline.
We're going to explore whatever resources are available.
Senator Blumenthal, joined by state and local officials, surveyed the situation.
Is your septic system now flooded?
Well, yeah.
Committing to communication.
I can tell you I'm going to personally call Ned Lamont as we leave here.
But already living on borrowed time, the residents say the time for talk is over.
Immediate resources.
They need a fix, short term, pumping water over a mile into the Connecticut River.
Our time frame is 2 weeks on that to get the request to headquarters. I have a flame under them.
And long term.
I know the residents don't want to hear this, but we have a program where we can, homes that are flooded repeatedly, we can buy people out of their home, demolish it, and restore it to another use.
Morgart told Fox 61 ultimately they are hoping to avoid that scenario by possibly installing some sort of underground piping that would prevent this type of catastrophic flooding in the future. At the end of the day, this all comes down to time. What will arrive first, the help or the water? Reporting in Portland, Matt Caron, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Mild today, but temperatures are going to drop overnight, and that's why I've got the big comforter on the bed.
Yeah,
still.
Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frame joining us now. Rach, how long are we going to need the comforter?
A couple of nights, so actually 3. I think we have widespread frost as we head into tomorrow morning, into Friday morning. Patchy frost for Saturday morning, and then as we head into next week, we'll really see the numbers begin to rebound. But until then, cool mornings ahead. Here's a look at the radar right now showing that most of the state is not seeing rain, but there is still a leftover shower here in Litchfield County right now, passing through and towards the Waterbury area as we head throughout the next about half an hour or so. So you might see a couple of raindrops there. But if you look back to the west, you'll see not a whole lot of anything. So we are overall looking at a pretty quiet stretch of weather ahead other than that chill. Temperatures right now are in the 60s across the state, and it is a bit breezy out there. Looks like night though. I don't know what's going on with these weather graphics. There is a freeze warning that is in effect throughout most of the state away from the Connecticut shoreline. It's not in effect for Litchfield County because it's still too early in the season. Heading through the day tomorrow, we'll see bright sunshine. It's a frosty start to the day, but a nice sunny afternoon with high temperatures rebounding into the 50s. We'll talk about that warm up for next week coming up.
Thank you, Rachel. State police are asking for your help finding a woman suspected of bank fraud and identity theft. Troopers say the woman shown here used the victim's information to steal $6,000 from Northeast Family Federal Credit Union in Windham. This happened last Wednesday. She then allegedly went to the credit union in Manchester and tried to do the same thing. The bank teller noticed the woman was not who she said she was and called the police. Troopers say the woman used a fake Massachusetts driver's license and the victim's social security number. If you know who she is, call state police.
The city of Hartford is celebrating 9 violence-free months in the Barber Street area of the city. The Greater Hartford NAACP's community initiative called Wake Up Wednesday started after 8 fatal shootings in that area last summer. Leaders and volunteers now go to Barber Street on Wednesdays and talk with people in the community, give out food, and try to show they all want their streets to be safer places. Mayor Arunan Arulampalam says the program is making leaps and bounds in the city's fight against gun violence.
So this is an attempt to say, how can we work together? How can we as a community bring everything that we have to work together to make this a safer community? And this is really hopeful. People who care about the city, who love the city, who want to see less violence in the city should be really hopeful about this because there are so many community groups coming together to do this work.
Now, Corey Betts is a lifelong Hartford resident and president of the Greater Hartford NAACP. He says Wake Up Wednesday has shown Hartford residents everyone is serious about making changes.
Let's show up and let's show some consistency in doing that so that we can, engage the community, get their trust, let them know that they're not alone out here and that folks are watching and they really care about their needs.
Wake Up Wednesdays will continue rain or shine for the foreseeable future.